Charmaine, and my guest today first found love on a television show, Married at First Sight, which ended in divorce. But not being one to give up on love, she's back to figure out what she's doing wrong so she can find Mr. Right. And she's here today to talk about FYI's new original series, #Black Love. Help me welcome Miss Monet Bell to the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you are so welcome. You know, when I was reading your story and actually watching the show, you reminded me of an old song by Stacey Lattisaw. You remember, I found love on a two-way street and lost it on a lonely highway. Is that what your first experiment was like?
I can relate to that.
So, you know, I'm so glad you're able to relate to that because I thought it was so interesting. Now, did you really think you would find love on a television show with someone that you didn't know? Were you kind of skeptical, you know, going onto the show at first?
You're talking about Married at First Sight, right?
Correct.
You know what? I did believe it. And here's why. Like, I think you have to if you're going to sign up and do any type of docu-series or social experiment, you have to believe what the process is or you fail before you even begin. So I walked in, I met with the experts. I said, honestly, like, I was ready to settle down and, you know, I wasn't having any luck or meeting a man that was, on the same page as me at that time. And when they presented the opportunity, I thought to myself, okay, well, if you're as great as you say you are and you can do it, then go for it. And that was the only thought process I had. So it was never thinking that the marriage wasn't going to work. It was always thinking that this will be amazing.
Now, how long were you married?
Well, technically we were only together for 5 weeks. And we opted to divorce after that. But under New York state law, you can't file for divorce unless you've been separated for 6 months. So my divorce wasn't finalized actually until sometime this summer.
Wow. Okay. Because you know how they say you can get an annulment if it's less than a certain amount of time, you know, as if you've never been married.
I don't know anybody who actually can get an annulment, especially not in this process. You can't get it because it's like a consensual, like, everything about it is set up that it is a divorce. There isn't an option for an annulment.
Wow. So what did your family think when you first told them, you know, hey, I'm going to go on this television show, I'm going to meet a man, and we're going to get married, so there's going to be a possible wedding? What did they say?
Told me I was crazy at first and then said, you know, this isn't you doing something like this isn't really out of your realm, so just tell us where we need to be at. My family has been extremely supportive of me, and they know my personality too. I'm kind of like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and like, love me regardless. And so they love me regardless.
So they're just along for the ride. Girl, okay, well, we got dates.
They are. Yep.
That's good. That's really good. And so now you're on a new show, #Black Love. Tell us about the show and the other cast members, and why did you decide to do this show?
Well, so #Black Love stems from my Twitter feed on Married at First Sight. Kind of Black Twitter would tweet #Black Love in support of myself and my ex-husband wanting us to make it. And so the network took notice of it and decided, you know, let's explore what this is. And, you know, here we have present day #Black Love. So the show is about 5 women of color in different stages in life, different stages of love, trying to figure out self-love, acceptance. But we're also in 10 group therapy sessions. And we're with Jack Daniels, who's a psychotherapist, and Damona Hoffman, who's a dating strategist and online dating expert. And we're on there with them, and they're kind of guiding us all individually and, you know, in the group discussions, trying to kind of figure out how we're getting in our own way and, you know, self-discovery. So I call it Sex and the City. It's all in therapy.
And lovely African-American women, I must say. Beautiful African-American women. So what did you learn about yourself since doing this show? Especially if you're going through all those therapy sessions and, like you said, a journey of self-discovery. So what have you learned about yourself in dating and just about you personally on this show?
Well, if you, I know you know about Married at First Sight. One of the biggest things with me on Married at First Sight is that I kept saying I wanted a traditional man. And the thing with that is I gradually discovered in this process that what I really wanted was just a gentleman. I wanted to be in a relationship of consideration. And that tends to sound like I'm simplifying, oh, it's so easy, but it is not easy to find that, especially in New York City, where it's a place where it's difficult sometimes to connect with people. So I discovered how important it was for consideration and consistency and all these things, and really it just boiled down to me wanting a gentleman. Mm-hmm. I also discovered that, I feel like it's kind of a misconception on the show that this is a dating show, right? Because it kind of looks like that. I think this is way deeper than just a dating show, because although I'm dating on the show, it is, you really get to see some aspects of the things that women go through with self-acceptance and self-worth and just heartbreak and, pain that you hold as baggage, and figuring out how to let go of baggage. You see a lot of that on the show.
So what tools do you use today in your dating life that you learned from participating on this show?
Jack will be so very proud of me, but one of the biggest things was that you live in New York City kind of independent, and it's just I think a result of just the lifestyle you're living here. So I am really conscious of making space for a man to be a gentleman and a man to be a man in my life. So I know it's almost like deprogramming yourself. So I have to think about it to make sure that I'm not taking opportunities away from a man to take care of me or do things for me. Even something as small as opening up a door, I pause a second and give him the opportunity to do it. Tell a cab, I give him a second to do it. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like these bad. I have these. I don't want to call them bad habits, but habits that aren't conducive to me getting the type of man that I want. And so I have to be conscious of it.
And everything you're saying is so true. I've been married for 17 years. I've been with my husband for 20. And I was raised
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I've been raised by a very independent mother. I wasn't raised with a father in the house. So I saw my mom doing everything. She had to do both sides, everything. When I met my husband, I was that strong, independent woman. I don't need no man to do nothing for me. I get the door. I would try to go get the door. My husband like, And I'm like, what? And he had to break that. It took several years to break that for me. Because just unconsciously, I was used to getting the door. My husband would open up the car door for me, and that was so strange to me because I had never had anybody do that for me. Even when I got married, you're gonna have your account, I'm gonna have my account. You know what I mean? And I went into the marriage with that, and I had to break all of that, get a joint account, but all that took work, And so I totally.
So then
understand.
Right, so you get it. You get how, I literally, there were times where even on the show where, and I don't know if they show this or not, but there were times where I kind of stumble because I'm getting ready to do something, but what I'm getting ready to do is get ready to not give this man an opportunity to be a man in this situation. So I really, and it sounds, somebody was like, oh, that sounds so silly. Why do you got to do? But no, I want this kind of man, right? So I got to adjust this type of behavior to get this kind of man. It's not changing who I am as a woman, but I'm adjusting something that is counterproductive and keeping me from getting where I need to be.
And especially in a world today, Monet, when you have a lot of men who are not gentlemen. Where you and having to teach our daughters, a guy today would just drive up in front of her house and honk the horn and she just come running out to the car, because they've never been taught. And so then in the midst of us looking for a gentleman, sometimes we have to teach them as well on how to be a gentleman because they don't have fathers in the home as well. So they've never seen it. They don't know, especially
absolutely.
And if you've been 80s babies, late 70s, 80s, and I say that because where I come from, during that time when the crack epidemic came in, a lot of parents was out on drugs, being raised by grandmothers or in foster homes. So that's something that they never seen. And so that's what I try to talk to people about as well. So we're living in a generation of a lot of young men who don't even know what a gentleman is. Say, what? You know what I mean? Baby girl do everything for me.
You are speaking the truth right now, because that really, the 80s detrimented the African-American household. I mean, it detrimented numerous households, but the African-American household took an extreme hit when it came to being able to, just the etiquette or those type of things. Those people were more concerned with making sure these kids are surviving on their lives, like not are you going to walk on the outside of the sidewalk when she's walking down the street? Like, that's on the lower scale of things that anybody's concerned about. So, no, I totally agree with you.
And you said something that was great. I didn't know anything about a man walking on the outside until I met my husband. He would move me to the side. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I walk over here.
So you know what? As soon as I go on a date and a dude does that, so then I come home and I text my girlfriend and they like, so how did the date go? I said, well, let me give you the rundown of all positive points. And he walked down on the outside of the sidewalk and put me on the inside. And
right.
So and it's silly, but my girlfriends and I get excited about it because we're like, it's not that often that you meet men who know to do that. Most of them don't do it, but when it happens, you feel special. And it's like, oh, it's kind of cute. You got some extra points because you did something like that.
Right. Because let me tell you, I didn't know what a gentleman was. My husband kept doing that. I did not understand it. And so I had to ask him why. You know what I mean? So you have women out there that were like me that have absolutely no idea what a gentleman is and what he's supposed to do. And then when you meet one, it's going to be kind of strange. And then you're going to have to try to adjust to it, yourself. So we're living in that day. So I wanted to know for you, why do you think it's so hard for today's successful modern Black woman who has groomed herself to have it all, beauty, intelligence, and a thriving career, but lacking in the love department?
Oh, well, that's a deep question. There's layers to that question. But I think for women like myself, like I said, I think that we have been so conditioned to basically growing up, the number one thing I do is then I get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You better go do this, that, and the other. It's this constant rundown of being told that you better go to school, or you better have a career, or you better be self-sufficient. You better take care of you. Like, I remember growing up hearing this statement in my household: God bless the child that got his own.
Yep.
And I remember being told that, because you better be able to take care of you. Now, here's the interesting thing. I was actually raised by my father, not really my mother. So you hear a lot of women having these particular daddy issues. I never had any daddy issues because I had a present father who, was actively there raising me. But because of that, I knew what it felt like to be taken care of, and I knew what it felt like to be provided for. But when I got out here in the dating world and I started building a career and started living, and I'm living in Los Angeles, I'm living in New York City, I'm living in Europe, and I'm doing it alone, I start to get into the survival mode, and these habits of just doing and never really having the space to kind of allow somebody to do those things for me. So it wasn't so much that I didn't see it growing up. It was more so I kind of conditioned myself, thinking I must be this powerful woman and I must be this survival, kind of like a survivalist. But I think we've just got to break the bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's it.
You just got to recondition yourself.
That's it. Because my husband used to always say, so you just like all the women in your family, your mom, your mother, your grandmother, and although my grandmother was married, your aunts, all of you guys, but that's just how we was raised. I come from a family of strong, independent women.
Yes.
And so breaking that, it was like, oh, God, help me. And I still got some issues today after 20 years. I still got a couple issues, but they're not as bad as they were. So that's the one thing I can't
I'm right
say.
there with you.
Not as bad as they were.
Seriously, it definitely is something to it.
Well, Monet, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to remind the audience to make sure that they tune in tonight for FYI's original series, #BlackLove, airing at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I sure hope that you find love. So I'll be watching to see who's going to be your new man. So I can say, Monet's got a man. Okay. Well, good. Thank you again and have a great day, okay?
You do the same. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Lady Charmaine.